Welcome to the garden. Today I'm going to be removing these leaves just so we can expose the soil and give it a little sunlight. That's going to warm everything up and it's going to start thawing out our frozen soil. So these leaves have really insulated the bed from the harshest cold all winter. But now they're actually insulating it from the sun and keeping it cold. So I want to remove these because all this soil is frozen solid. So by giving it direct sunlight, we're going to start thawing it. It's a little loose around the edges because of these nice black pots. Really helps kind of warm up that soil in spring. But now this is going to really start to warm up from the top down, and even though it might refreeze on the surface at night, it's going to be charging up heat so that it'll thaw out much quicker this way. There's nothing planted in this particular pot, but over here we have garlic. So if I were to remove these leaves, we'd basically be starting spring. So I'm just going to be a little more careful that I don't pull out these garlic bulbs. And all these leaves, by the way, are going to go on my compost. This is great compost material. You could work it down into your soil, but they're going to take a little while to break down. So I like to do that decomposition in a compost bin. That way too, that equalizes our food scraps, so we get a really nice balance. All these leaves were just harvested just around the garden and around the grass and on the driveway last fall. We get a whole bunch of oak leaves and maple leaves. So these are all great composting materials. They will kind of break down a little bit over winter, but in the compost bin there's going to be worms and little bugs and the ever-active microbes. But you can see that beautiful sun. The soil is very cold right now, but with some direct sun, it's going to warm up fast. So we're really getting a jump start on spring this year. It's like the 1st of March today. So March is usually one of the snowiest months here in Minnesota, but not this year. We've got beautiful, beautiful weather. Even though we did get a little snow, about an inch, it's all starting to melt. And let's see, this one here is celery. So we might as well do a couple more while we're at it. I'm going to see if the roots are going to come back. Celery is a cold, hardy vegetable, but it's not so hardy that it can survive being frozen solid. So all the leaves and stems are just pulling right off these roots. But maybe down deep, we can get these roots to survive. They're a little soft, so they're certainly not ideal. But if I can get these to flower, then I won't have to buy seeds next year, or this year for that matter. You could top this with some compost, but I'm going to wait and let the sun just heat this up for about a week or two until I really see what's going on and see what survived. Let's give you a look at these. Kind of interesting. That's the stem. They've really broken off, but maybe those roots are still alive. I'm not quite sure. This next pot is parsley, and I know parsley is a little bit tougher than celery. They're very closely related, so they look really similar. Parsley is just like a smaller version of celery. And getting some really great composting material here. And I don't want to pull the roots out, so it'd be a good idea to cut this one. So I'll be grabbing the clippers here pretty soon. But look at that, green parsley. It's been freeze dried. That's cool. I wonder if that's any good. Yeah, it's kind of dried, but it's still green. It's really weird. So I'm going to set that aside. I might give that a taste. So with any luck, these little guys will start sprouting, and we'll get a whole new batch of parsley coming off of these roots. These things are really tough, so they should probably be okay. Last year I did grow my parsley in ground, so they were probably a little more insulated. These are probably a little more vulnerable, but we did have a pretty mild winter, so I think they'll be okay. I'm just going to do a few more pots, just exposing that soil so that it can charge up in that beautiful warm heat. This little insect was under the leaves. Not sure what kind of bug that is. It looks like a mantis or something. But I don't know if he's alive or if he's in a dormant state. Looks like he's moving, but that could just be the wind. So I'm just going to put him on the compost. I'll kind of set him off to the side, not bury him under the compost. But he's a beauty, isn't he? Here, this is interesting. This is like a mud home. I don't know what's in there, some kind of bee or beetle, I don't know. I think it's an insect though. It made a little mud hovel. It's got a couple entry holes and exit holes. And I saw him building this under the shelter of our celery a couple years ago. I think it was last year or 2 years ago, I'm not sure. Oh, first Wednesday of the month, we got the sirens. So, I'm going to be removing these leaves, composting all these. This is great compost material. They've kind of half broken down already. So I'm going to try putting some cellophane over. I got this from an old pizza. I just saved it because it's that double wide, extra large cellophane or saran wrap, whatever, plastic wrap. So I'm going to try and get this nice and tight. And we're not really expecting much more snow, even though we got about 1 inch of snow today. I'm going to see if I can do a little bit of a miniature greenhouse and get a head start on this pot. And then if I can reuse this cellophane on other pots too, that'd be really nice. So hopefully that'll trap in that heat, and we'll get a little solar oven kind of heat going on. Warm that soil up right away so we can get planting. If you're worried about this blowing around in the wind, you can actually just put it on the surface, because we don't really have any plants in here yet. So it's not a big deal if anything gets squashed. And then you'd want to weigh it down with some rock. But then this will create a really small microclimate, and under this protection, it'll really heat up a little quicker. It'll also help insulate at night from the cold temps. This is a really effective way to use old plastic wrap to warm up your beds in spring. So we've got a whole bunch of leaves for the compost, and our pots are nice and uncovered now, so they'll start to charge up heat during the day, and hopefully we'll get a head start on spring. If I could plant the garden out in March, that would be really incredible. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.